What is up, everyone? It's time for a new streaming week. We've got all kinds of fun stuff going on, including new additions to the stream, tons of gaming news to talk about, of course, the always favorite Phil's Day Off segment, and more on the Level 1 podcast. Alrighty, indeed, it is the start of a new streaming week, everyone. Today is Friday, the 8th of September, 2023. I'm Darkside Phil, and welcome to the Level 1 podcast, everyone. What a good week we've got coming. Continuing on with all the great stuff that we were doing last week, getting further into the meat of a lot of the stuff that we'll be doing. Plus, the build-up to Mortal Kombat 1, which will now be coming out 1 week from today. Technically, it comes out a week from yesterday if you get the advanced premium edition. However, I'm not going to be here on Thursday of next week for scheduling purposes. That's my day off. So I'll actually be playing it starting on Friday the 15th. A day later than a lot of other people, but at the same time, I'm going to be focusing on the narrative mode, the story mode, and all of that. So that should be pretty fun. I always do a full playthrough of the narrative mode. So that's coming up. But we got a lot to talk about today, man. A lot is going on around here. As you can see, we got a new addition to the stream today, something cool and different that I said this would be pretty neat to add to my streams if we tossed it on there after having been out yesterday. Yesterday was my day off, which means I was actually out with my wife all day long. 2 days ago was my wife's birthday, but this year she had opted to stay home and basically just have a whole day playing Starfield because she loves the game. So then we said, well, we want to do something for your birthday, obviously. And she said, well, let's go out the day after and do a bunch of stuff. And we did. We actually went out and we did a little bit of shopping. We had some nice food, which we're going to talk about on today's very popular Phil's Day Off segment. Okay? So, yesterday was a great day, and one of the things that happened when I was out was that at a store we saw this pretty cool sign, and I said, the Pac-Man sign, the Ghost, has been an absolute hit over this last year. It's been something that people absolutely love for the setup. It shows up nicely on the camera. I wonder how this would work out. And it seems to be the exact same premise as that, where it has this, as you can see, a gradient of colors and everything. I said, let's check it out. So we ended up getting it, and here we are, and look how good it looks, right? It actually films really well on camera, both here, but also you'll see when we get to gameplay and the camera becomes only like the 4:3 aspect ratio, it still looks really good. So I was pretty happy about it. Now, there's some other things as well. I actually got something that we're not going to add to the setup immediately, but we will have for future months. Should I give you a preview? This, I don't know how well it's going to film, all right? But I figured you guys would love it because of what it says. Okay, you ready for this? Pretty cool, huh? It's a 3D piece of art. And I certainly figured you guys would like that after all the Street Fighter I've been playing recently. And of course, soon we'll be probably playing Call of Duty. So I figured you guys would really like that as part of my setup at some point. It actually lights up, but not very well. Like, there's lights behind this controller, but you can't really, I turned them on, like, you can't even see them. But anyway, probably I'll have that in the background at some point moving forward one of these months. So I'll actually just toss this right now into the closet so that we have it for future months. There we go. So, yeah, grabbed a few odds and ends and things while we were out. I'll talk more about that during the Phil's Day Off segment coming up on the show. A good amount of Game news happened during my time away yesterday, so that's always good to cover when I come back. It's good to get caught up on all the happenings of the gaming world. And, of course, all the excitement of all the games I'll be playing this week, continuing on with Armored Core and Starfield and Street Fighter 6 and trying to finish up Chrono Trigger and all that good stuff, right? So, I hope you're all feeling well, and I hope that you're all in a good mood, and I hope that you're all ready for some fun, okay? Shall we talk about that? All right. So, where do we begin? Where do you start when you have a jam-packed podcast? Well, as I said, today is Friday, the 8th of September, 2023. We're already a week into September. We're already a week into the fall gaming season. And you guys, I think, at this point, know my initial impressions on Starfield. It's a mixed bag. Some of the stuff is really good. I mean, some of the things that Bethesda is really good at, like good narrative-based, stories and finding missions that kind of lead to more missions all over the place, is really prevalent and well done in Starfield. But the graphics are atrociously bad on console with tons of frame drops, crashing game, losing save progress. The world exploration is pretty lame and not very good when it comes to like exploring the open worlds of a planet. And the gunplay is kind of basic, So it's kind of like the things they tried to do differently, like the space travel, aren't very good. The shipbuilding, not very good, I'll be honest. But there's things in the game that are great. So for me, it's kind of like the ultimate kind of mix. It's like in the middle of it. Is it good? Is it not? It kind of is good if you focus only on the things that Bethesda is good at. This game is exceptionally good. So, everyone is kind of on the fence about the game, talking one way or the other. It's funny because you got these totally different opinions online. Personally, I'm enjoying it and I want to keep playing it. I like the narrative. Like, I want to see where the story's going to go and continue on with the game, okay? Outside of that, Armored Core 6 is continuing on. It's a great playthrough. Last time around had another new build, which got me to the next part of the game. I think today we're finishing Chapter 3 and heading into Chapter 4. Apparently the game has 5 chapters. So we'll probably finish up Chapter 3. I'm thinking there's going to be a big finale boss at the end of Chapter 3 that'll probably be challenging. And then we head on to Chapter 4 and more, right? So that'll be fun. Street Fighter 6 tonight. And I decided that for the late stream tonight, I'll be playing Lily for the first time in months. Actually watched one of the top Lilies last night play. And honestly, she doesn't do much complex stuff. It's more about timing, mix-ups, and knowing when to do what and what combos to do and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting tonight to see how I do with Lily, because I think I'll just do a couple casual matches, and then I might actually go to like ranked placements to see how I do. And honestly, if I don't place well with her, I don't really care. She's not a top tier character regardless, but I'd like to obviously see where I place with her. So anyway, good stuff coming up this week. Before we get to the week schedule and before we get to everything, let's cover a couple quick things. Number one, all right, I talked about something on the Daily Wrap the other night. I felt like I wanted to be transparent with all of you, but not all of you watched the Daily Wrap, so I'm very briefly going to cover it right now. It's not going to be something that I'm going to be talking about every day or harping on, all right? Last week, there was a distinct dip in support when it came to tips. In reality, when it came to like memberships and super chats and everything, things were great last week, and I was very happy about that. But tips, for some odd reason, really declined last week on my live streams. Now, for those who don't know, and I couldn't imagine how you don't, I'm not someone who has paid product placements. I'm not someone who has these partnerships. I don't get paid to play particular games. I don't take those kind of opportunities. I just make content for you. You like it. You support it through crowdfunding. That's how I make my living. And definitely there's ups and downs to that, okay? But now we're in the fall gaming season. The biggest games of the year are starting to come out. And this is the time of year when typically I got to spend a lot more money on a lot of games and things that are coming out. My expenses shoot up. But also, kind of in tandem with that, I also usually see an increase in support. I would say the support did come, but it came in methods where I won't see any help from that in like a month and a half, okay? Just for those who don't know, super chats, memberships and things like that help a ton. They're long-term support for this channel that absolutely is needed, and I'm very, very grateful for it. Thank you. I mean, I got a lot of gifted memberships. We're over 560 now, which is excellent. At one point we were struggling just to keep it above 500, so thank you for that. But tips are really important because tips are essentially my liquidity. When you tip me on a stream, that's something I get right away. That's something I can use to pay a bill, to go grocery shopping, to have a nice dinner with my wife, which we did yesterday for her birthday, to buy the new games coming out, okay? So What happened was last week I saw a distinct dip in tips, and I don't know why that was. There didn't seem to be particularly any reason. You know, the launch day of Starfield, things were great, and then after that, it was like every single stream, we weren't even hitting a tier 1 tips goal of $50 like ever. So because of that, I was looking at the end of the week, I was like, oh my god, like I didn't expect it to be this tight, but it was, okay? And it's okay, it's not the end of the world. All I'm trying to do is spread awareness. If you were thinking of supporting my streams this week, a great way of supporting my streams this week would be tipping me, okay? That would help a lot. You know, long-term support's been great, and I obviously am grateful for that. And anyone, please, if you're going to super chat or do a membership or gift a membership, please, by all means. I'm not looking to give towards an amount. I'm just saying I definitely saw a distinct dip. It wasn't one stream or two streams. It was like all the streams last week except for the one premiere stream of Starfield had a distinct dip in support of tips. And I was like, that's concerning when you see a pattern. Not when it's just a one-off thing or a couple things, but a pattern. You know, I'm not in a situation like these other big content creators where I can be in like a rut for weeks and weeks. It'll start to hurt, okay? Thankfully, it's not like it was years ago. Years ago, there were situations where I was so financially distraught, I had to have crazy marathons to try to pay bills and stuff. It's not like that anymore. I want you guys to understand that, and I've tried to make that very clear to you this year. Things are much better this year than they have been in a while, thanks to you. Okay, this is not, you know, me being, oh my God, completely financially distraught. But obviously, when you see an alarming pattern like what happened last week, I want to call it out and let's let everyone know, awareness, here's what's going on. I'm not asking for anything above and beyond what you normally would do to support. I'm just saying if you have an option, you want to choose, gee, how should I support? Tips would help a lot right now. Tips would be stupendous for me to afford all the stuff. Particularly, I've got to get Mortal Kombat 1 Collector's Edition in the next week, and that's $100. Okay, actually, isn't it $100 plus tax, right? So actually, it's like $120, all right? Plus other, you know, other things that will be coming up very shortly that are going to cost money. So thank you in advance to anyone who does it and helps out. I really, really appreciate that. And thanks to those who don't take it the wrong way. Because whenever I try to be matter-of-fact, transparent with my audience about things like this, there's morons who say, you see, he's e-begging and he's doing all these horrible things. Did you hear me once e-beg right now? I'm just explaining the situation and saying, if you could help in that way, please do. I'm not telling anyone, hey, open your bank accounts, rip open your wallets and purses and dump them on a table in front of me. That's not what I said. I'm spreading awareness of, yeah, it would help to have a little bit more in the tips department right now because of the way that this business runs, and I'm a small-time guy. I'm not some giant guy with huge ad revenue and huge views or whatever. I am reliant on my audience, all right? So thank you to those who understand, and don't try to spin it into some kind of bullshit, the sky is falling story that it's not, because that's not what I'm intending, all right? So now that that's out of the way, now I can move on to positive things. I just wanted to get it out of the way, and now we can focus on all the good stuff. Okay? Good. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to get that off my chest and out of the way, so now we can move on to better things. Okay? Cool. All right. So what's going on right now? First of all, I think it's time for my favorite segment. Your favorite segment. Everyone's favorite segment. It's time for Phil's Day Off, ladies and gentlemen. I think we should change the color. It actually doesn't stand out as well. Hold on. It doesn't seem to stand out as well. Of course, I clicked the wrong thing. Let's make it like maybe pink or red or something. Make it stand out a little more. Oh, green actually stands out pretty good there, huh? Or yellow. Oh, yellow really stands out. We'll do that. Okay. So it's time for the Phil's Day Off segment. So what happened yesterday on my day off? Well, hold on. There we go. Well, yesterday was my day off, and I had a great day. It was a long day. We had a lot to do, my wife and I. A lot of errands to run. At the same time, like I said, it was the celebration of her birthday, kind of a day late, because she just wanted to stay home on her actual birthday. So, that being said, I decided to do a few fun things with my wife that normally we wouldn't do, as I said. Basically, I decided to do a little bit of shopping with her as part of her kind of like birthday present. But also, we went to a dinner and stuff like that. Okay, so a lot of different interesting things. So, what did we do? Well, the usual. Grocery shopping, pet supply shopping, and the like. We did go to a couple stores for some nice things. We actually got a couple things for the house. All right? Nothing too major. A couple cheap pieces of artwork and stuff. I think one of them was like $15 and one was like $20. And we did a little bit of decorating downstairs. We actually rearranged the whole bottom floor of the house. We moved like pictures that we had in one spot and moved them to another spot and did stuff like that. Moved them all around the house and stuff like that. Okay, so it was nice to do a little bit of redecorating. Particularly, we went to my wife wanted to do something nice that we don't do for dinner, and I was like, well, certain things that we could do that we don't do all the time. And she came up with an idea that she wanted to go to a dim sum restaurant. Okay, and I was like, dim sum's interesting because we almost never have it. I think in the entire time I've lived here, we've probably had dim sum like 2-3 times. Okay, now there's a really nice dim sum restaurant at our local mall, and so we went there. And the funny part about this restaurant, all right, I told my wife, listen, it's your birthday celebration. We're going to get whatever you want. It doesn't matter what the price is. So we went to this restaurant with absolutely no knowledge of what the pricing was of anything there, okay? And so we sit down and they say, well, here's your menu. And what you do is you pick what you want on the menu, you order, and then we bring it to you. So we're looking at this menu, and they got all kinds of stuff. There's noodle dishes, there's dumplings, there's steamed buns, there's wontons, there's soups, all kinds of things. There's desserts, specialty drinks. And we're like, so I wonder what we should get. I really don't know. And again, we don't know the pricing of anything. So we're like, let's just, pick some random items off the list. We, haven't been here. So let's try all these different various things. So we ended up getting a noodle dish that was like chopped pork noodle dish. I don't know what it was called. We got these dumplings. It was XLB. It stood for, so something Lao Bao or something like that. I don't know what it stood for. But it was supposed to be like soup dumplings. And what that means is it's like a dumpling, steamed dumpling, but inside there's actually like a broth or soup of the flavor of the protein that's in there plus the protein. So it's not just a standard dumpling with like a dry filling, but it has a bunch of liquid in it as well. It's kind of neat, right? And then we got 2 orders of these steamed buns. Now, these are the classic things, and I'm trying to remember what they're actually called. But here, it was a funny thing because I told my wife this story. So when I was growing up, I went to arcades and I played fighting games. And there was always this kind of a meme back then in fighting games, a cultural thing, that certain characters love to eat steamed buns. Okay? And it's just weird because I never knew what they were. So, for example, one of the characters, I think his name was Si Kensu, and he was on the Chinese team in King of Fighters, the fighting game. And he always loved to eat the steamed buns. And he would take one out after winning and bite it off. I was like, what is he eating? Is that like a pastry? Or is that a candy, a sugar? I didn't know. I didn't know what dim sum was when I was young. So I had no concept of what he was eating. So come to find out, there is this meme in like China and Japan and other places that dim sum is like very popular, steamed buns. And people like have a craving, an addiction to it. And there's even characters that are constantly like trying to eat it. Okay? I mean, I've played games like Persona, and it's been part of that. And I didn't know what that stuff was, right? So we got 2 different orders of steamed buns. One was supposed to be pork-filled, and one was supposed to be chicken and mushroom-filled. So we ordered all this food. And we're like, we got basically 4 orders of food, and we're thinking, this is going to be like a crazy overabundance of food. We're going to be eating so much food, we're going to be stuffed to the gills, right? Like, oh my God, we're going to be so full at the end of this meal. So first, the noodle dish comes out. And, it's honestly, this is supposed to be a dinner, and we're looking at it, and we're like, that totally looks like an appetizer. It's a dish of noodles, long noodles, thin noodles, with a bunch of chopped pork and other things, a little chopped like green onion and other seasonings and veggies and things are topped in there with it, with this like kind of a sauce that looks like a soy sauce. So we split it. We had 2 little plates. We split it, and we both ate it. We liked it, but it wasn't that much. You're like, yeah, it's good, but certainly if I had gotten that for like dinner, I probably would have been disappointed because it wasn't very filling. I'm like, well, I'm glad they brought that out first, because to me, that's basically like an appetizer, right? A little taste of something. So then up next, they bring out the small chicken steamed dumplings. These are supposed to be the soup dumplings, the XLB, which I don't know what it stands for, okay? Okay, cool, let's try it. So there's 10 of these things, and they're very little. Each one's barely a bite, okay? And you can tell they're ultra fresh, they're handmade. So you pick them up with chopsticks, you put it in your mouth, and you get a burst of flavor because you get all that broth comes right in the second you bite into the dumpling, and then you get the chicken center. So it's kind of like having fresh chicken soup in your mouth, really. It was good. But again, it's 5 little bites, okay? Not even full mouthfuls, but 5 little bites of dumplings. So we had the noodles, we had the dumplings, and we're like, wow, all the food tasted good. But we're 2 courses in, and we're not even close to feeling full. It felt like we basically had like 1 appetizer at this point, okay? So like, okay, here come the steamed buns, all right? So first come out, well, actually what they did, they brought them out double-decker style, and they put them down. And one, like I said, was pork-filled, and one was chicken-filled. Admittedly, the steamed buns were the best thing we had all night. True steamed, because this is fresh. These are made fresh right there, you know, not frozen. Handmade dough, hand steamed in these steamers and everything. Super hot. Dude, it was ridiculously good. Like, the dough is so unique, okay? The dough itself, when you look at it, you're like, it doesn't look like it's cooked. It looks like it's raw dough. And then when you touch it, you immediately realize that's not the case. It's completely, you know, solid on the outside, but as you rip off or bite into it, it's fluffy on the inside of this dough. And it has this unique sweet flavor, the likes of which it's not confection, it's not like a pastry dough, but it's also not ultra savory. It's a completely unique dough, the likes of which, you know, you never really had in anything else before, okay? So, we're eating this. The first one we had was the pork, and you bite in, and the first mouthful you get is just all the dough. And you realize, okay, there is pork in here. Essentially, it is like a dumpling-sized piece of pork in the middle, but you got to eat all the dough around it kind of to get to it. And you can dip this in soy sauce and other stuff if you want, or you could just eat it plain. I opted to eat it plain, all right? So after like a bite, and I got all the dough tasted good. Then I finally get the bite with the pork in it, and it tastes great. So the pork is a little savory, a little sweet. Kind of tastes like the best. You ever had pot stickers or really fresh like dumplings that they make? I forget what the actual name of it is. But basically, like, it tasted good. The filling was delicious, and the breading was good. So I'm like, oh, it's not bad at all. And there were 2, so we each got 1. And by the way, how big are they? I'd argue they're about that big. So they're not giant, but they're not small. They're kind of in between size as you eat it. And then we also got the chicken and mushroom flavoring. Well, not flavoring, but filling dim sum. And what are they called? Bao? Are they called bao? I think that might be what they call these buns, these steamed, buns. So we each got that too, and then we each got 1 of that. And I'll be honest, that was the best thing of the night. The one with the chicken and mushroom inside, flavorful as hell. And it's funny because it was the last course we ate. And my wife goes, if we had this first, man, I would have just ordered like 5 more of these. Like this particular steamed bun with the chicken and mushroom inside was absolutely the best flavor of anything we ate all night. I was like, yeah, it's kind of disappointing because we didn't know what to expect. Never having eaten at like a real dim sum restaurant like this before, we didn't actually know what to get or what was considered good. That's why we kind of ordered all over the menu like we did. And so we eat it and we basically finish, right? And we look at each other, we're like, so what do we think? Well, the noodles were all right. The soup dumplings were good, but not great. The pork steamed bun was pretty good. And then that chicken and mushroom steamed bun was absolutely the best of all night. I want more, right? But we're like, all right, well, we ate 4 courses. I guess, we're done. What are we going to do? Keep ordering, right? So, all right, we're done. So I'm just curious, what's the cost of this stuff? Well, of all the things, the most expensive thing I think was the noodles. And I could be wrong. I think the noodles was like $16 or something like that. And I was like, what? Why were the noodles so expensive? Of all the things, I thought the noodles would have been the cheapest. And I'm pretty sure they were like the most expensive of anything. And then the soup dumplings were like $13 or something like that. And that kind of made sense because it's like 10, so each person gets 5 if it's splitting between 2. And for an appetizer at like an American restaurant, that would be around the same price. So that one kind of made sense. The thing that really blew me away, the pricing on the steamed buns, it wasn't expensive at all. Each steamed bun order of 2 was $7.50. So that means each steamed bun was like just under like $3-4 bucks, between $3-4 bucks. And we were like, wait a minute. The best thing we had was the steamed buns. So if we had known that, we would have ordered like 4 orders of steamed buns. Seriously, I would have like, dude, I would have just sat down and ate a ton of these things because they were so good. So now we kind of know. Now, also on the menu, like I said, they have wontons, and we didn't try that. So curious what that would be like, because isn't that like a fried dumpling? So maybe that would be a little different. Also, they have other kinds of like vegetables and things on there. They had, I think the waiter had said one of the most popular things they do is like these seasoned string beans or something like that. And we didn't try those either, but I had noticed at the tables around us that a lot of other people were having those string beans. I guess they must be popular if everyone around us is kind of eating them. So, you know, tallying it all up, and then you got to toss in tax and tip. Honestly, it wasn't so different from like a normal meal out that, you know, you're not just ordering minimal, but you're ordering like several courses. It was about the same. But what I could say is, if we had, instead of doing the noodles and instead of doing those soup dumplings, if we had sat down and known to get like a bunch of the steamed buns, we probably could have been like super full and not spend as much money. But we just didn't know because, you know, we've never been there before. And so we were talking about it. We're like, well, we'd like to come back in the future. Not anytime soon because we just had it. But we'd like to go back in the future and now know to order more of the steamed buns because that was our favorite thing of all night. And it was the cheapest thing we ordered, right? And they're different kinds. It's not just the pork and the chicken, but I think they have like other fillings too that you can get. So that's probably what we would do is order like 3 or 4 orders of steamed buns and maybe try the wontons or something because we didn't have them yet and go from there. But it wasn't bad at all. It was something different. And the good thing is basically we tried a lot. We know what we like and we don't like. So if we go back, the second experience would likely be better than the first, right? So it was nice to be a little adventurous and do things. They don't have restaurants like that in America, honestly. This is one of the rare ones. In fact, I think there's one here. There might be one in California. And a lot of these restaurants are over in Asia. But they don't really have them that often around here. There is like a fast foodie dim sum place around here. It's not very good. We tried it once ages ago. And it just wasn't that good. And it was way too expensive. So this is much better. You're sitting down, you're getting everything freshly made right in front of you. You can actually see they have a room where people are making the dough for the dumplings, and you could see them making the dough by hand. You're like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. So it's a pretty interesting place, okay? Anyway, yeah, not bad at all, and we had a good time there. Like I said, we came home, we did some decorating of the house. We basically rearranged. We had a lot of artwork that has been on the walls for years and years, and what we did, we took it down, we cleaned the walls, and we were like rearranging the art in the house and stuff like that. And we had gotten some nice pieces of nature art. Like one of them is, it's a deer standing in the middle of the woods. All right. And so we got something like that, and we basically rearranged it. So now our living room is more nature focused with the artwork and the stuff that's in there, which is very nice. It was kind of weird. So we have these giant pieces of art on the wall that are not expensive. They're basically like, they were from IKEA, and they've been on the walls for like a decade, right? But we always had one in the living room and one in the dining room. So we opted to do is kind of rotate them around. And so one looks like a big ocean wave and one looks like the woods. So we rotate them around, and immediately I noticed something. I was like, now the living room looks more confined and almost like more cozy. And now the dining room looks way more spacious. Even though obviously that's not the case. The space hasn't changed. They're the same rooms. But it's wild how colors and artwork and things like that can really make a room feel different. You know, you hear about these people who are total masters of home decor, feng shui and stuff like that, and you think, oh, it's all nonsense. And then you do something as simple as swapping a picture on a wall, and the whole room feels different. The living room literally feels completely different now. I was like, that's crazy. Just from swapping one piece of art or whatever, it's pretty wild. So anyway, we did that. We cleaned up the house a little bit. You know, it was a good day. We actually, for the first day since Starfield came out, Kat did not play Starfield. She took a day away from Starfield. So now today she can kind of jump back in and play it more. But it was good to have that full day away, I guess, you know, decompression, right? So it was good. It was nice. It was a nice day. Overall, you know, we did a lot of good stuff. We restocked, like we went to Costco. We restocked the house with things that we needed that we were low on. Oh, so a lot of people had asked, well, did she get a cake for her birthday? No, she wanted a pie. And I asked her, where would you like to get a pie? There's lots of places out here we can get pies. There's a local supermarket. There's Costco. There's actually a diner called Sherry's that make like fresh pies and things. And she said, well, we got to go to Costco anyway. Let's go to Costco because we know they have giant pies, right? All right, so let's see what they got. So at Costco, we go. They only have 2 pies. We're like, what? They only have 2 pies at our Costco. Like, that sucks. We've been there before, and they had like 5. They've had all kinds of selection. Fruit, cream, pumpkin. This time, they only had 2 pies. They had pumpkin pie, and they had peanut butter cream pie. Oh, like peanut butter cream pie. I'd be like, okay, maybe I like 1 slice. I don't want to buy a ginormous peanut butter cream pie. How am I going to eat all this? It's too rich, So, the good news is, my wife loves pumpkin pie. So we ended up getting a pumpkin pie. It's huge. I came home and cut it up into giant slices, and she had a piece last night, and she loved it. I had a very small piece. It's not as dense as standard pumpkin pie. Like, when you get pumpkin pie, you usually think, oh, it's going to be really thick. It's not. It's a little bit more airy, a little bit more whipped, I would say. But the flavor's good. So, she likes it. She's got a ton of it to eat over the course of, the next week or two. That's kind of like her. That's the equivalent as if she had a birthday cake. She got a pie because that's what she wanted. So there you go. I'll probably eat maybe 1 more piece. I'm not a big sweets guy to begin with, and I'm not in love with pumpkin pie. I think it's just all right. So I'll probably have another piece in the next week or so. But oh yeah, King Be Cruel says the peanut butter pie from Costco will send you to an early grave, but it's good. Can you imagine how many calories that effing thing must have? Pure peanut butter in a whipped pie. It's like, dude. Like I said, I'm not against it. Sounds great. I love peanut butter. But that's something I would like to have 1 piece of and then move on. Not buy a giant pie and expect it to eat that thing, That's just not good. Anyway, what else did we do? I'm just thinking if there's anything else particularly that we did. I think it covers the bases. It was a very busy day. When we have all these errands to run and everything, the day flies by. We woke up, we were getting ready to go out, we had to go grocery shopping. Actually, we had to get gas this week. We had to go grocery shopping. We had to come back and unload all the groceries and unpack them and everything. Then we had to go to Costco, go to the pet store, 1 or 2 other things while we were out. And then we had to, then we went to the mall to get this dinner and everything. And by the time you're done, you're like, we've been up, since like 8, 9 in the morning. It's already like 7 p.m. Like, dude, where did the day go? It's the whole day. I'm just so tired. Just want to go home at that point, But it was a good day overall. I had a good time. And, the new addition to the streams. I hope you guys like the new sign that'll be on here. And what I'll do, I will alternate this sign with our ghost. You guys ever see the ghost when it was off? Here's what the ghost light looks like when it actually has no power to it. It's kind of cool. It kind of looks like an 8-bit block or something, right? But yeah, this is what I've used the last year on the streams. And now what we can do is we can alternate it and we can go between the ghost and the game over. I don't think we want both. I think having 2 signs that are lit up is probably too much, right? You think two lit up signs probably too much for the stream? So we'll probably alternate between the 2 on the streams. So probably the rest of this month we'll do the game over sign. Maybe for Halloween we'll bring back the ghost, and then we'll go back and forth between or something like that. Okay. The other thing is they both run on USB. So if I were to try to have both of them, I'd probably have to get like a USB splitter or something over here, because right now one of them is running to my laptop, the spare USB on my laptop. That's how it's working. But I don't have another USB. Yeah, I don't actually have another USB on my laptop to even plug this into, even if I wanted to. So yeah. Anyway, let me put this back into the closet, and then we will have the ghost return, probably maybe next month. We'll see. And keep in mind, here's another wild thing. So we're out. Oh, that's the one thing I didn't mention. We did go and looked at, they had a Spirit of Halloween store in the mall. And we went in there, and immediately I got 2 or 3 cool ideas for a Halloween costume, okay? I think this year we're going to do it a little differently. I think this year I'm just going to select my Halloween costume, which incidentally has been what's happened many years anyway. For those who don't know, because maybe you don't, every year I do a Halloween event, okay? It's usually held on Halloween, as long as that's the day that I'm working, and usually it is. And the way it works is as follows. Number one, we do a variety of games and events. So usually people will nominate and vote for games and stuff you want to see me play during my Halloween event, and that will remain the same. What will happen is at the very beginning of October, we'll have a couple threads that will open up, and you guys will start nominating video games for me to play, and then we'll probably have a voting process by which we determine the ones that I'll actually play during the marathon, okay? But in addition, excuse me. In addition, I always dress up for Halloween. And man, my Halloween costumes have been very different and wild over the years. I've been a Ghostbuster. I've been Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed. Last year I was Ken Masters from Street Fighter, and a bunch of stuff in between there. I had a great time. I always love dressing up for Halloween for you guys for the day. But some years what I do is I have it so that people can like vote on the costume for categories. But what happens is sometimes I have good ideas, but it's hard to fit that idea into a category, or you know, I have a really good idea for a costume, but then people always don't vote for the category, so I never end up wearing it. I'm like, you know what, this year I saw a few cool costumes that I'm very interested in, so I think I'm just going to select my costume for myself this year, okay? But you guys will still have plenty of interaction. Channel members are going to have priority for a special, you know, to select a game for the event, and then everyone else will be in another thread nominating and voting for games for this event. But that'll start in early October. That first week of October, we'll probably set those threads up. People will start nominating and all of that. So it was funny because we're at the mall. We're like, oh my God, it's almost October. October's Halloween month. I decorate. My background is Halloween themed. I have like horror themed stuff that I put behind me for Halloween month. And we will. This year, what I'll do is I'll do a combination. Maybe what I'll do is on one side of me, I'll do more classic art. And on the other side, we'll do Halloween decorations. Much like how I did for Street Fighter month, where it was Street Fighter on one side, or for Anniversary month, where we had the shirts on one side. I'll probably do something similar for that for Halloween, so it's kind of a split. So we still have the kind of retro vibe of gaming, but we'll also have some Halloween decorations and stuff too. Okay? So, there you go. That was my day off, and Halloween is coming, and I'm excited for all of that. So I hope that you guys are too. Great. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Great stuff. And you know what? Now the ghost also, let me put him into the closet for future use. Here we go. Very good. All right. Okay. So good stuff, right? All right. Cool. So that was the Phil's Day Off segment. Now where do we go? I guess what we should do, let's talk about the gaming schedule for the week, so you guys know what to expect. And then we got some game news. We got, like, I think 3 or 4 game news stories to cover today for you. So that should be fun. And then, you know, we'll get to shout-outs and Q&A and the like, okay? All right, so let's talk. So what's going on right now? First of all, gaming schedule for the week will be a good mix. First of all, today, we continue on with Armored Core 6, which I'm very excited for. Armored Core has been a great playthrough up to this point. I've really enjoyed myself. I hope you guys are too. We're heading into, like I said, it looks like the finale of Chapter 3 today. And you know, whatever that entails, hopefully there's like a big boss fight finale. That'll be neat. And then heading into Chapter 4, and I'm going to continue to upgrade and customize my mech and do things. I'm thinking about buying the tank treads and alternating between the tank treads and the tetrapod. I like the tetrapod. Don't get me wrong. I think the tetrapod's really cool. But at the same time, I feel like the tank treads make you like ultra maneuverable so that things can't really hit you that well. And I think for some of these bosses maybe coming up, I would need the tank treads. I'm not sure. But I might try that. We'll see if I can save up enough money to get the tank treads and how that would work, right? So that's the main stream today. I'm excited for that. Excuse me. And then continuing on with the action theme today, later tonight, 6:45 p.m. Pacific time on the late stream, it will be Street Fighter 6 with Lily. First time I'm actually playing Lily in ages. At one point, I was getting pretty good with her, and then I just kind of cold turkey stopped playing with her as I adapted over to PS5. At this point, I don't know how well I'll do with Lily. I did watch some Lily gameplay last night, and quite frankly, all right, Lily is just a simplistic character. I'm going to be honest. She doesn't really have that much complexities to her gameplay. It's about knowing what to do in what situation. You know, what move has the higher chance of hitting, and if it hits, it becomes a counter hit. You can combo and you can do giant damage, doing the safe hit strings with her light attacks and locking down certain characters with said lights, or mixing up into throw. For example, A really good Lily can completely lock down a Honda because Honda's reversal is headbutt, and headbutt can be thrown. So she can just stay on Honda with a hit string that he can't really do anything about and can completely dominate unless she makes a mistake or he gets lucky. So that's what I mean. And am I going to have that execution? No, I'm not. I haven't played with her in ages, but it'll be nice to get back into it. Likely what I'll do is jump into a couple casual matches, and then after a couple casuals, we probably will go to ranked play. Unlike with Luke, where I was really kind of starting from scratch, with Lily, I at least kind of have like a basic understanding of what I'm doing with the character. So I think we'll do some Lily tonight. Should be good for variety, and probably ranked play. We'll probably get her placed into ranked gameplay tonight, and go from there. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're so upset you didn't do ranked with Luke the other day. Well, I get it, but at the same time, it's a character I didn't really know what I was doing with, right? So I needed to practice a little bit, so I got a nice practice night. Tonight, I have played way more with Lily than I ever did with Luke, so I think it should be fun tonight, okay? Now, tomorrow, we're continuing on with Starfield on the daytime stream, which I'm excited for. We're actually in the middle of a really awesome quest line. We'll continue on with that, and wherever the game takes us, I'm happy because this game does take us on nice journeys in different directions based on the missions we're doing and things like that. Again, the game excels at the narrative and excels at the mission structure and really fails at the new things they threw in there, like the space travel and the shipbuilding. So as long as I kind of focus on the strengths, I think it should be fine, okay? Tomorrow night, with the continuation of Chrono Trigger. As we're heading into the end game at this point, really, the only things left to do before we beat the game are the optional dungeons that were added as content when the game was ported to the Nintendo DS in the 2000s. People said they want to see me do it, so I'll try it out. I'll try it out Saturday night, see how it works, because I haven't done it besides the once. I don't even remember what the content is, but it could be nice to check it out, so that'll be Saturday night. And then Sunday is my React show, DSP versus the Internet, over on DSP Reacts. If you happen to be a channel member over on DSP Reacts, remember to nominate your clips. The more clips, the better, and you have until Saturday night to do that. Okay? Then Sunday night, it'll be more Starfield on the late stream, just like we did last week. Then Monday, the daytime stream will be Armored Core 6, paired with Street Fighter 6, and probably on Monday, I'll probably end up going back to Luke and maybe trying Luke in Ranked this time. Tuesday, probably more Armored Core, more Starfield, and pair that probably with Chrono Trigger, and we'll see how far into Chrono Trigger we are, if that'll be the end or not. And then Wednesday, what was I going to say? Oh, Wednesday probably either Armored Core or Starfield again, and probably Street Fighter to end the week. Will it be Lily? Will it be Luke? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay? Now, I'm off on Thursday the 14th, but Mortal Kombat comes out that day. I won't be here. There's nothing I can do. Scheduling purposes, I have to have that day off. But when I come back on Friday the 15th, we will do a big premiere Mortal Kombat 1. And for those who don't know, this game has three essentially really interesting modes. The first is the story narrative mode, which Mortal Kombat has had ever since they rebooted back in MK9. And it's definitely a feature. It's something that a lot of people are interested in, including me. I want to see what is this story of Liu Kang becoming a god and trying to reboot the universe, and who now is friend and foe, and what's happened with all these characters that have been remade from scratch. It's kind of interesting, right? Apparently the story mode's around 8 hours long. Well, being that I'm an interactive streamer, probably that's enough for like 3 major streams maybe, So I'm interested in it. I want to start that. Now there's a second mode. I think it's called Conquest mode. Now this mode is meant to be outside of the story, still single player content, where I guess you select characters and you go through this big map of challenges, and I guess there's mini games, but also combat stuff, and it's meant to be an actual fun part of the game that's not competitive play, which is good, because Mortal Kombat has always had single player content that's significant that's not competitive. It used to have the Crypt, which was this open world area you could explore and solve puzzles and do fights and unlock stuff. This time around, it's not the Crypt, it's whatever this Conquest mode is, okay? So I have story mode and Conquest mode to try before we even take Mortal Kombat online, all right? So what I'm thinking is on that day, 1 week from today, we do a whole day of Mortal Kombat. Call it Mortal Friday. And the first stream will probably be 3 hours of story mode, and then we could continue to do more story mode on the late stream, or if you guys wanted me to swap and do the Conquest mode instead, we could do that. So really, it's whatever you want. On that big day, the 15th, we'll play Mortal Kombat 1 all day long. Mortal Friday, okay? Then that Saturday, we'll do Mortal Kombat on the day stream. Then the night stream will variate, whether that would be Armored Core or maybe a late night stream of Starfield or whatever. We'll probably do that. And we'll play a lot of Mortal Kombat that week. I'm not saying we're going to do all Mortal Kombat all week, but since it is the release week and I played extra to pay it early, it makes sense to do a lot of Mortal Kombat. At least my goal would be to beat the story that first week of Mortal Kombat 1, get the story completed. Whether or not we do Conquest Mode or we do any online play after that, we'll determine, but really the story would be my focus to get through for that week, but then balance it with other stuff. I don't want people to be sad that I'm not playing Starfield and I stopped playing Armored Core, so it's got to be a balance, right? Okay. And then we'll go from there, because, you know, we got Lies of P, we got a DLC character for Street Fighter 6 coming out later this month in Aki, so that's essentially the, you know, the schedule for the week. I hope that sounds good. Okay. Now, game news. First of all, before we get to the news segment, something kind of interesting happened on my day off. It's not necessarily gaming news, okay? But this big debate has sparked up in the fighting game community, and it's actually quite pertinent to things that I've been doing in Street Fighter 6 recently. As you know, in the month of August, I swapped over from having played Street Fighter 6 exclusively on the Xbox Series X to the PS5. That reset all of my rankings, and that made me so that I had to start over with various characters. So Blanca and Honda had to start from the bottom again and climb all the way up to Master Rank. It took a month, but I got both Blanca and Honda to Master Rank. But there's a big debate sparking in the fighting game community, alright? And the debate is thus. Is it too easy to hit Master Rank in Street Fighter 6? Is it disrespectful to say that there's, like, beginners who are master players? Okay? There's all different schools of thought. Here's basically what's going on. Some pro players are upset that there's people in Master Rank who have incredibly low win-loss ratios. Did you know, and it's been proven, they statistically figured this out, there's people in Master Rank who have completely losing records. There's people who have only a 25% win-loss ratio. They lose 3 times out of 4 times that they play the game, yet they hit Master. Now, they did the math and they figured it out. It's mostly Ken players, because Ken is obviously the most overpowered, broken character in the game. He's a character that if you just play and grind, you're almost guaranteed just to win matches because you selected Ken and you played a pattern. You don't have to think, you don't have to react, you just play a pattern and you can get easy wins. So you could be the worst Street Fighter 6 player, learn basic Ken, and statistically, if you just play enough, you're going to hit Master. That's pretty bad, right? That is pretty bad, because Master is supposed to be the big criteria of if you're good at the game or not. So how could it be if there's people who literally lose 3 out of 4 matches, but still have been hit Master, right? So what's been happening is a lot of people are arguing that the game doesn't rank very well. It's all screwed up. Like, the placings just don't make sense, right? How is it you could do placement matches and you could win 5 out of 10, but then it says you're only, like, you know, gold or platinum, right? But then you could lose 3 out of 4 matches your entire career, but be a master. It doesn't seem to make, it's not even consistent. You see what I mean? There's no consistency to how the game judges skill. So the one school of thought is too many people in Master right now who don't deserve it because all they did was pick Ken and grind and mash and got away with cheap wins because they picked Ken, and it's stupid. There's too many Ken scrubs in Master Rank. That's one of the schools of thought. The other school of thought is, well, it's kind of disrespectful to say that everyone in Master, that there's a lot of beginners in Master, because there's a lot of people in Diamond that are grinding away who actually are good, but they've never hit Master yet, or because they don't have time to play, or because they just kind of get stuck facing off against the top tiers or whatever, and you know, they're having a hard time hitting Master. But to call a lot of Master levels beginners is kind of disrespectful to those below them. I don't know. I just basically see a lot of people arguing. And what's interesting to me is that people are trying to figure out a way to suggest a better ranking system to Capcom to maybe in like next year when they launch like the full season 2, maybe they'll patch the game and they'll fix the rankings somehow. So one of the schools of thought is that basically it should be based on win-loss percentage. That it shouldn't be based on, oh, you get an arbitrary number of points per win, and therefore, since you're getting more points per win than losing points per loss, that you can literally only win 1 out of 4 matches and still have enough to level up, right? So definitely that's kind of interesting. All right. Um, and I like that idea, but at the same time, I was having a nice Twitter conversation yesterday with James Chen. For those who don't know James Chen, incredibly long time Street Fighter player. Actually, was playing Street Fighter at a pro level before I ever did. So he's OG, like original gamer from way back in the day. Lifelong Cammy player and well respected in the Street Fighter community. And he actually is a commentator on tournaments. And he's actually one of the commentators in Street Fighter 6. If you didn't know, he's one of those voices that you can play as the in-game commentary during matches. So had a discussion with him about this, and he's like, well, just doing it purely based on win-loss ratio wouldn't work. He says, because a lot of players, when they start playing Street Fighter, are not good, and they're going to lose a ton. They're going to lose a lot of their initial matches. But then at some point, they're going to play enough, they're going to get enough experience, it's going to click. They're going to start playing better. They're going to start realizing the matchups, learning the skills, what to do in each situation, getting better combos, and at that point, when it clicks, now they start, winning more and more. But is it fair to punish someone because they had a slow start? Let's say, for example, there's someone who literally the first 200 matches they suck and they only win 30 of their first 200 matches. But all of a sudden, when they hit match 201, something hit, they changed something in their gameplay. Now they're better, and now they're winning 60% of the time, right? So they went from winning only like 10, 20% to 60%. It's going to take them a long time to climb out of that 200 loss deficit and get back to a positive win-loss ratio. Is it fair to punish them so they're not getting any rank points until they negate all those losses? It doesn't make sense. I kind of agree there too. At some point when you're playing Street Fighter, it might click for you. You might get better, and you want to be rewarded for playing better, not punished because you had a slow start learning the game. So just basically starting off and saying, oh, it's just win-loss ratio, that wouldn't work either. So James had an idea. He's like, why don't we do what's called kind of a scrub mechanic? So the game will have a number of matches in ranked that it judges your skill based off of. Maybe it should only be your last 500 matches or your last 300 matches, and it judges based off of your last several sets as opposed to what you did way in the past. Because what you did way in the past isn't necessarily representative of where you are today. So why be punished for that? And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it does make sense. So maybe what they should do, once you hit diamond rank, okay, a new formula kicks in. Okay, you're in diamond. Now you're kind of starting over. This is now that you're in the real leagues now, right? Now we're going to start seriously counting your wins and losses only when you're in diamond, but you only count like 200-300, and whatever your ratio is based on your last 200-300 matches judges your skill level and how many points you gain per win, right? So if you had a big, terrible losing streak, you got to work your way back out of that losing streak, or else you're never going to get back on track, right? I don't know. It's interesting. Basically, right now, I feel like it is kind of a terrible ranking system. I'm just being honest. I just don't think it works very well. When you have people who I selected Ken, I mash pattern, I'm a master Ken. What? I mean, I played master rank players recently as I was trying to get both my Blanca and my Honda up to master. They were terrible. I spanked a Dalsim the other day with Honda. He had no clue how to fight against a Honda, and he's a master. I fought a Marisa. The only reason the Marisa beat me is because I dropped my combos like 3 times. My fault. This Marisa had no idea what to do besides mash medium punch and was hitting me with everything because I was messing up my combos and stuff. That's on me. But still, like, these are master players, and they don't even understand basic matchups. It's funny. People are saying the more people they fight in master, they don't even understand the mechanics of fighting games. They don't know what a footsie is. They don't know how to properly anti-air people when they jump at them. They don't know anything. They just play a shit pattern, and they're getting all these ranking points. So it's an interesting discussion, and I definitely agree that it's not sufficient. Okay, I feel like there could be some improvements done to it. I do think they shouldn't implement it until later. Like right now, for whatever season 1 is, as long as it runs, they should leave it. But maybe next year, if they do a major overhaul to the game, which they tend to do like once a year, they'll major overhaul like a Street Fighter game, they should maybe overhaul the system. Because right now, I agree, it is kind of stupid the way that it's put together. Now, for clarification purposes, since we are talking Street Fighter 6, I do have some stat updates for you all in regards to, my performance in Street Fighter 6. Okay. I have some updates. So the other day, I did ranked matches, or excuse me, I did casual matches with Luke, and they were definitely casual matches, a lot of lower tier players, you know. But for those who like statistics, I had 39 wins and 16 losses, so it was a 71% win-loss ratio with Luke. I don't think that means anything. It was casual matches, so it's not a big deal. But in regards to my overall win-loss ratios, all right, my win-loss ratios actually are better than I thought, because when I was talking with James Chen on Twitter, I was like, you know, I have an overall 61% win-loss ratio, and I don't consider myself great at Street Fighter 6. I think I'm good, but I'm not great. I'm definitely not a pro player, and, you know, that's my win-loss ratio, and I have 2 characters in Master. So is that representative of my skill level or not? I don't know, but that's just an example, right? So if you take a look at my actual situation in regards to character specific, since I started playing on PS5, Blanca has a 71% win rate and E Honda has a 64% win rate. So actually my win-loss ratios with Blanca and Honda are higher than my overall. My overall is dragged down because I was playing with so many different characters back when I was on Xbox, and I didn't know how to use a lot of them, and I had a lot of losing nights and stuff like that, especially, you know, first time. I remember how bad, like the first Dalsim night, the first DJ night went, where I was getting spanked all over the place, those characters. So that brought down my win-loss ratio. But if you're looking character-specific, I've actually done really well. I mean, Blanca, 71% on PS5 is a really good win-loss ratio. You know, almost 3/4 of the time I'm winning in the match is great. So maybe that's more accurate. Maybe that's why it makes sense that I would be Master Blanca, because my win-loss ratio is actually much higher, right, than it seems. I don't know. But anyway, again, neither here nor there. It's just some statistics. But I do feel like there absolutely should be an improvement to the way that this is working. I definitely think that the rank system is flawed, and it is something that a lot of people are talking about right now in the community. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to get to the segment that is my favorite segment of the podcast, your favorite segment of the podcast, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. You ready? DSP News. All right. Very nice. So let's go ahead and let's do the news. Okay. All right. So we start off today with some information about Starfield. Okay. Starfield has hit 6 million players as of yesterday. Okay. Why? Well, that's because that's a combination of people who got the game early for the week. They paid extra to play it early, but then there's also the people who now are playing it on Game Pass. 6 million people's a lot. That's a ton. Now, you have to understand, no, that's not 6 million purchases. That's 6 million people playing. They didn't buy it. They're playing it on Game Pass, right? So, do not get this wrong. I hate the misrepresentation when they're like, oh my God, our game sold millions upon millions, and you come to find out it's a Game Pass game and no one actually bought the game. But 6 million people is a good amount of people trying the game out the first week, okay? Now, how many people will continue to play that game, right? How many people will actually buy the game, you know? Will the game have longevity? I don't know, but it's a good amount. All I'm here is to deliver the news, all right? I have no spin on that. That's just facts. Okay. Were you guys aware? Wow, we got a lot of news to talk about. Here's some news. You ready for this? Bunker 15, a movie publicity company, has been caught red-handed. Listen to what they're doing. They are paying self-published critics $50 or more a pop to review movies as positive. So essentially what they're doing is they are paying someone who claims to be an internet independent reviewer to review a movie positively. They then post their reviews up on aggregate review sites such as Rotten Tomatoes, and it artificially pads the reputation of the movie. And apparently it took years and years for this to finally be discovered, and it was just discovered 2 days ago that this is happening. So, Michael says, is that illegal? I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. Is it illegal to have a essentially, that instead of a true review, it would be a paid advertisement. Well, I know in the realm of sponsorships, if you're going to receive a sponsorship for anything, you have to legally disclose that sponsorship. If not, you are misrepresenting it when it's a paid advertisement as something else, and that is illegal. I mean, that we just did the Machinima React about a month and a half ago, and one of the major things there that Machinima got in trouble for was they had an ad campaign with the Xbox One where they paid creators to do positive content about the Xbox One but didn't have them disclose it. That broke the law. So essentially, I would think if they're being paid for positive reviews, yes, it would be illegal as long as they're not saying in their review, by the way, this is a paid sponsorship from so-and-so. So if this is, the truth, I mean, this means that not only would Rotten Tomatoes scores be wrong, but all aggregate sites could also have been affected. You might have game review sites that over the last several years, games got way overly positive or maybe even negatively reviewed scores based on a company that wants that game to perform well or not. That's kind of fucked up, right? Can we trust these aggregate review sites when now it's been exposed that this has been a major thing going on for years and no one knew about it until now, right? So that's kind of interesting. Can we trust these sites at all? For me, here's what I've always told you guys. First of all, don't care about advanced reviews at all. Don't care about what IGN and GameSpot and those fuckers say. They're completely worthless. It's a bunch of games journalists who don't even know diddly dick about games, trying to fucking say they know anything about games, and the reviews are terrible, okay? What you should do is you should trust your favorite YouTuber, your favorite Twitch streamer, someone who you watch all the time, who you trust, who, by the way, is not a paid shill who takes paid sponsorship to play these games, but instead someone who likes games that are similar to games you like, and allow them to play the game for a couple of days and give them their honest feedback. A lot of people wanted that out of me with Starfield, and I've tried to be as transparent with you guys as possible about what I think about the game. I think there's stuff that really excels. I think there's stuff that really sucks. So it's kind of a mix for me. So honestly, if you ask me right now, what would I review Starfield? I can't. I really can't, because I'm kind of torn. I say a lot of the time I'm having a lot of fun, and then some of the time I'm really bored and annoyed. So yeah, that's kind of a big mix, and but that's the thing. I say you got to trust people who are like mind to you. You shouldn't be if I'm a paid professional, all I do is sit around and fucking review shit all day. Bullshit. And the same thing with these people who are always taking these big paid sponsorships. Oh, I got the game a week early, and now I get to fucking tell you what I think about it. Dude, you're a shill. You fucking shill. You got a week early. Of course you're going to be positive about the fucking game. You're so full of shit, right? Oh, I'm one of the exclusive people who was chosen to stream the game a week early and no one else can. What, are you out of your fucking mind? You're a fucking scumbag. Take the paycheck, take the bag, be a fucking loser shill, and have no credibility whatsoever to anything you say or do. The problem is people are really dumb. In the modern era of content creation, so many people just cannot discern between genuine criticism and or review quality stuff or someone just getting paid to say something. They just can't tell the difference anymore. They think it's as long as it's entertaining, it's good and I trust them. That's completely stupid. You can't do that. So, yeah, now it seems like you can't trust aggregate review sites. You can't trust a lot of content creators. Who do you trust? I say trust the smaller indie guys. Really. Those are the people who people should be listening to today. Fuck these mainstream idiots who get everything given to them on a silver platter and they're paid to be nice. Fuck those idiots. You gotta be trusting people who actually, like for example, if you know someone who you like as a content creator and they have absolutely nothing whatsoever to gain to say the game is good or bad, that's who you trust. Because why would they have any incentive to say something other than what they truly believe? If they're not going to benefit from it, then that's who you should believe, right? Over someone who, if they say the game is good, wow, they're probably going to get advanced copies of other games from that company in the future. Or, wow, that's the kind of content creator, when they say something is bad, their videos go viral and then they make lots of money. You see? You can't trust either side. You got to find people who truly have the ability to be neutral. Okay? Okay. All right, let's continue. Reed Pop and the ESA part ways over E3. ESA, which is the company that owns and operates E3, has not canceled plans for a 2024 event of E3 yet. I don't know why. They canceled this year because of lack of interest. Why would they not cancel next year? I have no idea. But they've decided it will not be at the Los Angeles Convention Center where E3 has always traditionally been held. So that was basically, that's what the Reed Pop thing is. That was their agreement that E3 was always held at the LA Convention Center. And then since COVID, there hasn't been one. But they keep talking and planning like they're going to do one. And then they keep canceling it. So they canceled this year's. And now they're like, oh, we might have one this year, or next year. But if we have one next year, it won't be at the LA Convention Center. At what point are we going to determine that E3 doesn't need to happen? Really? It's only been 3 fucking years it hasn't happened yet. Actually, 4 years it hasn't happened yet. So why are we going to just say we don't need it anymore, right? I mean, come on. We got Summer Games Fest and many other events. We don't need E3. But anyway, supposedly the ESA is working on a complete reinvention of E3 for 2025. Good. Maybe you should make it into like a fucking Pez dispenser or something, because no one cares about E3 as something for gaming anymore. Okay. Completely stupid. Our next story, this one's kind of interesting. Okay? So it was announced about a week or a week and a half ago that Charles Martinet, the voice actor for Mario ever since Super Mario 64 came out in the 90s, was retiring, but was going to be allowed to keep being the Nintendo ambassador for Mario. Okay? And I even talked about this. I said, I think what happened is they realized Charles is getting old. They don't really want him as the voice actor for Mario anymore. That's why they got Chris Pratt to play Mario in the Mario animated movie. And then there was a big campaign that why didn't Charles Martinet get to do a voice for the movie? So then they did hire him to do voices in the movie. It was like Mario's dad or something like that. Okay? But now they realize he's just getting too old and they don't really want him to do the voice acting for Mario games anymore. But they also don't want to act like they're firing him because people would hate them, Nintendo in general, because Charles Martinet is a beloved figure. He's traveled the world to go to gaming conventions and other appearances to meet people, to do the voice of Mario, to be an ambassador for Nintendo, and as he claims or says, to spread joy amongst the fan base. So when you have someone who's a beloved employee of your company and everyone loves him, and the fact that he's a family-friendly guy, he's always been out there promoting Nintendo, to just shit-can the guy because, oh, you're getting too old would probably be pretty bad PR. So like I said, it was about a week or two ago they announced he would be a Nintendo ambassador. But what's hilarious is a few days ago, someone at a convention where Charles Martinet was interviewed him and said, so what are your feelings about being the Nintendo ambassador and not being the voice of Mario anymore? And he goes, I actually don't know how to feel because I don't know what that means. Nintendo never contacted me to talk to me about it. Everyone's like, what? Like, yeah. He's like, I don't even know what it means. They did that big PR announcement or whatever, and they never even told me, so I guess I'm not doing Mario's voice anymore, but I don't know what the ambassador job entails. They didn't say anything. So he's like, I don't know what's going on right now. Like, what? Oh, that's a nice way to treat it. So anyway, the reason I bring this up, yesterday, an official video was finally released by Nintendo, both featuring Charles Martinet as well as Miyamoto-san. And Miyamoto-san finally explained what was going on. This is how these corporations work. It's so ridiculous. Like, a big announcement. You didn't even fucking tell the person the announcement affects what the announcement was or what it means. Wow, that really makes sense, doesn't it, Nintendo? You guys are just fucking genius level people over there. So anyway, in this video, basically what Miyamoto-san announces is that Charles Martinet will no longer be voicing the Mario character. However, he's so synonymous with the Mario character that they want him to continue to be able to travel the world and represent Nintendo in a positive way because he has been a positive person for the 30 years or whatever that he's been doing the Mario voice, and people know him as the voice of Mario. And they're not going to say, well, you don't own Mario, so you have no right to go around and represent Mario anymore. No. They're grateful, and therefore they're going to allow him to keep doing conventions, to keep representing Mario, I guess to keep using the brand imaging. Because, you know, Nintendo could literally be like, well, you don't do the voice of Mario anymore, so you're not allowed to say shit. You can't use the voice. You can't fucking do anything with Mario at all. You're done. You're fired. They could have done that. And they have the right. They own the IP, so they literally could have said, hey, Charles, thanks for 30 years. Fuck off. We don't want you anymore. And made it so that he's essentially unemployed for the rest of his life. Yeah, they could have done that if they wanted to. So, it's nice to hear that they have now allowed Charles to do what he loves, which is funny because it's not any different from what he's been doing anyway. he's just going to continue to be himself and represent Mario around the world in a positive way. And I guess make some money doing it at these conventions and the like, which is nice, right? Our next news story is kind of interesting. Did you know that there was a video game based on the Disney cartoon Gargoyles in the 1990s on the NES and Genesis and all of that? I knew it existed, but I never played it. You know, I played other games from the Disney afternoon style stuff. So, for example, DuckTales, and I believe like Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers and stuff like that, but I never really played the Gargoyles game. I loved the cartoon, by the way. I thought that the cartoon was super well made. And while on the WB networks, you had the Batman animated series, on the Disney networks, you had Gargoyles, and they were kind of dark, gothic, and almost equivalent in tone. Okay? So anyway, the reason I bring this up, they are remaking the Gargoyles game. It's called Gargoyles Remastered. It's going to launch on October 19th on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's going to feature modernized visuals, enhancements, and brand new sound effects inspired by the animated series. So essentially, it's like a better version of that game. It's kind of interesting, but the thing is, I never played it, so I don't know if it's any good. But maybe it would be something fun to check out as a retro thing in the future. If you're a Disney fan, it's probably right up your alley, especially if you liked playing those Tailspin, DuckTales, those games from that era. This is just another one that was, you know, kind of gathered in. I looked at it. It looked to me like the Lion King video game. You ever played that one? Which is pretty challenging. But, yeah, this one looked pretty good. So maybe it would be a fun game, right? Okay, our last news story, and this one's a doozy. Ladies and gentlemen, you ready for this? You probably haven't even heard this story because it's a Japanese-centric story, and a lot of people aren't talking about it. YouTuber Shinobu Yoshida has been found guilty in a Japanese court of law. They did a Let's Play of the video game Steins Gate My Darling's Embrace without the permission of the company. They have been sentenced to 2 years in prison, but it's suspended for 5 years and a $1 million yen fine. This is the first time in history someone was found guilty of copyright infringement by posting gameplay videos. So, you guys may be very confused about this situation because I was at first too. Remember, Let's Plays on the internet are considered legal gray areas, but by most people's criteria, there's 2 reasons why it's not an issue. Number one, if it ever went to court, it would have to be argued whether or not a Let's Play is a transformative work. And there's a lot of cases for and against this. And right now, it's never actually been determined in a court of law if a Let's Play of a video game would be considered a transformative work or not. Okay? Number 2, absolutely no one has ever been taken to court before by any gaming company for playing a video game on the internet because gaming companies see it as free publicity. They realize that having people play their games and have fun with them essentially makes other people want to buy their games. It's become part of ingrained gaming culture in the last 10 plus years that if you got a lot of Let's Plays of your game on the internet, people are going to want to play it and it'll actually sell more. So why would a company try to take down a YouTuber who did a Let's Play of their game? Well, first of all, you got to understand a few key factors about this case. First of all, the makers of Steins Gate are a Japanese-centric game developer. If you remember years ago, I had similar problems with a company named Atlas when I was playing Persona 5 and also Persona 4 Arena, a fighting game based on Persona 4. For some reason, Atlas is copyright crazy and will hit you with copyright strikes even if you're within the criteria that they laying out for you to make a playthrough. It makes no sense. They say, hey, here's our game, here's what you're allowed to do, here's what you're not allowed to do. And you can follow the rules to the letter and still get copyright strikes for no reason. I reached out to Atlas of America and they said, sorry, we don't control what Japan does. We'll try to get it cleared up. And they did. They got the strikes removed. But why did I get hit with copyright strikes for no good reason? It seems like the Japanese parent companies of a lot of these game developers just kind of do whatever they want. Now, in case in point, this is a situation where someone was sued and lost the court case and found to be criminally liable for what they did. All right? What is this situation and why did this happen? First of all, Steins Gate is an old video game. Yes, when this playthrough was put out in 2019, the game was already 8+ years old. So why on earth would a game that's 8+ years old, has countless playthroughs all over the internet, have been found to be guilty, and a person go to jail for making a Let's Play of it. Well, in reality, it's a unique situation. This gamer, this YouTuber, apparently obtained a copy of the game early. They actually broke Street Date, okay, against the rules. You're not supposed to do that. In addition, this is a narrative-based game. It's a visual novel. This YouTuber chose to post up the ending of the game early, before the game had even officially released, spoiling the entirety of the game. Now, again, you may argue, well, what's the big deal? The game's 8 years old. This was a special edition of the game that had been remastered, and therefore, there was going to be tons of people likely buying the game for the first time and enjoying it for the first time because it was a better version of the game, and this person went out of their way to get an early copy and spoil the ending for clickbait views on YouTube. And when they did that, the game publisher essentially sued them, okay? So this is definitely a unique situation. A very unique situation, okay? Narrative-based game where the ending ruins the rest of the game if you know it. Special edition of the game being released that everyone was going to buy, and therefore, by spoiling the ending of the new version, you basically spoiled the entire game. Breaking Street Date wasn't even the legal time when they should have been able to make a playthrough of it anyway. So it was kind of like 3 big no-nos of Let's Play making. Now, the thing is, Let's Players have done this forever, right? And let's be honest, they have. There's tons of Let's Players out there who are actually known for somehow being able to get copies of games early and putting out leaked content and playthroughs of it early. One person just did it of Starfield, but that dumbass then decided to try to sell illegal copies of the game before the game was out. They got slapped with a felony, and they're in jail. Or they might be out on bail by now. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's becoming more and more serious. If you're going to do Let's Plays, you got to be within the rules of what's allowed. You got to play ball. I mean, these companies are playing ball with you. Why would you choose to play with fire just for personal benefit? And this particular YouTuber essentially broke all the rules. You know, the unwritten rule of don't break Street Date, don't spoil the ending before the game's even out. You know, all these things that are kind of messed up. And they got sued, and now they're going to jail for it. So the question is, will more of this kind of thing happen? Is this the beginning of the slippery slope of companies feeling they've been wronged by Let's Players, and therefore they're going to start suing them? Now, some people had actually said, this is kind of a unique situation because I guess this person also got an insane amount of views by spoiling the game or whatever, that if someone's a common YouTuber and they get like a couple hundred to 1,000 of views on a video, no one's going to give a shit. Why are you going to sue someone who has a video with, 1,000 views on it, right? As opposed to, someone who has hundreds of thousands to millions of views because they spoiled the ending of your game before the game came out. That could be a problem, you see? So I don't think this will be an issue for the common YouTuber, but it will only be for like people of giant stature who have a giant audience. Apparently this was a very prominent Japanese YouTuber who essentially did this, okay? So I guess we'll see, but that was interesting. I'm curious, will more companies follow suit? Will it be that with these narrative-based video games just don't want people doing Let's Plays anymore because they feel like it spoils their game? I mean, think about the playthroughs I've done over the years. All the Telltale games I've played, right? Did people not buy a Telltale game because they saw me play it? Or did they like my playthrough and then they went and bought it? I don't know. It's narrative-based. So all you can really do is make an alternative choice here or there. Would it really change the core experience that you would have with that game simply because you bought it versus the playthrough you watched? It's an interesting argument, and people have talked about this for, over a decade now about what should and shouldn't be allowed as a Let's Play on YouTube. So, I wonder. Anyway, interesting story for sure. And I'd be curious to see if other Japanese companies might use this as a precedent to say now people shouldn't be doing that with their games. I mean, I'll be honest, Atlas is already kind of trigger happy when it comes to the copyright issue. Could they pull the trigger on a legal precedent now, a legal case? I don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, finally, that is the news. We got through all of it, all right? So that was a lot of news to cover today. I knew that today's podcast would end up being on the longer side because we had a lot to talk about. The day off segment, the news segment. Thanks for listening. And now what we're going to do, we're going to do a couple of shout-outs. Anyone, if you wanted to do contributions and get a shout out, I would say do it right now. So this is the portion of the podcast where we do that. And if we have a little time for Q&A after the fact, we'll do that. All right. So first of all, on the YouTube side of things, our first contribution here of the day is from Adam. So thank you very much to Adam for the super chat. He actually did that super chat just as I turned on the stream earlier. All right. So thank you. That was the first contribution of the stream much earlier. Okay. Now, continuing on, our first tip of the day. Okay, let's try that again. Clicked on it and aired out. Our first tip of the day is a $5 tip from, I guess it's an anonymous tipper because I don't see any name attached to it. So an anonymous $5 tipper. Thank you for that. Let's see what they have to say in a sec. Let's get this up on the leaderboard. Okay. Have you seen Dread 2012? I watched it and thought it was a fun, solid movie, much different than the trailer led you to believe. Have you seen it? Have you seen the Stallone Judge Dredd movie? First of all, the Stallone Judge Dredd movie I saw in theaters with my father. It was a giant blockbuster at the time. It was a really well-received movie. Everyone liked it. I loved it. My dad and I love Stallone action movies from back in the day, and we saw it together. We thought it was funny. We thought it was very entertaining. Like, it was a really well-done movie. The law! But no, it was a good movie. As for this modern one, I did see it. I can't remember. I think I saw it as soon as it went like digital on demand. So I remember seeing it, and actually it has, I forget the name of the actor, but he's the same guy who played one of the main characters of The Boys. And he also has played many action roles. Remember, he was in the Doom movie ages ago with The Rock. I think he did a really good job playing Judge Dredd. I actually really like Carl Urban. Thank you. I think he's a good actor, and I think he did a really good job. I remember really enjoying the movie. Now, I haven't seen it in like a decade, but I remember when I saw it like a decade ago, I thought it was a good movie, and that's an action movie I'd like to watch again sometime. But I remember it being pretty good. Kind of weird, though, that they made that movie, because does anyone know about, like, is Judge Dredd popular? Like, in the 90s, the reason the Judge Dredd movie was popular is because it had Sylvester Stallone. That's really the reason. That's it. That's the only reason the movie did well, is because it had Sylvester Stallone. If it didn't have Stallone, no one would have cared about the Judge Dredd movie. But Stallone made it a title role. You see what I mean? Like, Stallone is Dredd. So everyone wanted to see the movie because of that, and then it blew up and made a lot of money. Carl Urban, I hate to say it, as good of an actor as he is, I don't think that he's really putting butts in theater seats. You know what I'm saying? So it was a good movie, but I'm not shocked that it wasn't like a blockbuster hit or anything like that. You know what I mean? But I thought it was a fine movie. I thought it was a really well done movie, and I enjoyed it. So there you go. Yeah, Rob Schneider. Remember that? Rob Schneider was the comic relief of the Judge Dredd Stallone movie in the 90s. Yes, he was. Back when he was prominent, he was in a bunch of movies. Not just Adam Sandler movies, but a few other movies as well. Okay. Dabian says it's got a lot of graphic novels and comics. Oh, I'm aware that Judge Dredd started as, comic books. I know that. In fact, in the original, the Judge Dredd movie with Stallone, the title screen or the title credits are comic book panels to show you that that's where it kind of started from. So at one point it was prominent. I mean, Judge Dredd is not prominent anymore. You know what I mean? Like, no one really talks about Judge Dredd and, oh my God, Judge Dredd, the amazing comic book. Today it's all Marvel, DC, major heroes. And that's about Ninja Turtles. And that's about it, right? Okay. All right, well, guys, that's what I got so far. If any other contributions come in, I'll shout them out. Now, another reminder, guys, today, the best way to support me would absolutely be tipping. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, for some weird reason, last week tips actually really slowed down to a crawl. I barely was even hitting any tips goals at all over the course of the week. And I don't want this to be a pattern that hurts. So if you were thinking of contributing today and you had a choice, if you could tip me, that would be great. If I could hit like one tips goal. Here's my goals for the week. Because what I should start doing is outlining goals for the week. Okay? Here are my two major goals for this week. Goal number one, I'd like to hit 600 members by the end of the week. We're just starting. We got 6 days of streaming. If by the end of this week I could hit 600 members, that would be an accomplishment I'd be proud of and say thank you all. All right? The other accomplishment, to at least hit 1 tips goal a day. Every day I'm dual streaming this week, okay? So as long as I'm hitting that tier 1 tips goal at least once a week or once a day, that's great, all right? I'm not expecting it every stream or anything like that. But at least if I could hit it once a day, that would be stupendous. And then I would be like, you know what? Things are going decent. Things are going good, all right? So those are my goals for the week. 600 members by the end of the streaming week and hit at least 1 tier 1 tips goal per day of 2 streams a day. Fair enough? And I'll be bringing, that should be the goal. I should have concrete goals. And I think maybe not having concrete goals has hurt me. Should say, these are the goals we're actually working toward. This is what we're trying to do. Can we do it? Right? So I think we should start doing that a little bit more rather than everything being ambiguous. Right? So we'll see what happens. All right. But thank you. Hopefully we'll get a good, kind of rejuvenation and get back on track this week. Like I said, last week, memberships were great. We went from like low 500s all the way up to 560 members. 0 complaints there. Super chats were actually high last. We had a few really large super chats that help out a lot. But again, it's the tips that concern me when I have a lot of stuff I need to buy in the next few weeks. So, okay. All right, guys. What would you guys like to talk about? We have a few minutes left. It's already 12:35, but we have a couple extra minutes if you want to do a little bit of Q&A. Unless you just want to end the podcast here, we can do that too. What would you guys like to do? Phaser, it's all good. Here's the thing I am going to say. If you're someone who likes the content, you enjoy it, and you can't go above and beyond and support it, don't ever feel bad and don't ever apologize. I'm not asking for anyone to go crazy, ever. I want you to understand that. That's not the. That's what the idiots say out there. They're trying to be dickheads and put words in my mouth that I've never said. It's not about that at all, all right? My philosophy, if I'm putting out the great content and you guys are enjoying it, the reciprocation is going to come. I don't have to sit here and cry and complain and scream about it. I'm not doing that. I'm just spreading a little bit of awareness of what's going on, and hopefully the help will come, But I'm not saying, hey, empty your wallets, empty your pocketbooks and purses. That's crazy. I would never say that. I respect you guys too much. That's also why I don't monetize you all the time with ads. That's why I don't do product placements, because I don't believe that's what my content is for. My content will always be free and meaningful, and hopefully, I can continue to make a living doing it like I've done for 15 years. And if something comes up like this, I can be transparent with you guys, and people don't take it the wrong way. Say, oh, it's disrespectful. What did I do of disrespect today exactly? Nothing. Only morons would say that because they want to spin things in a negative light, right? Okay. No, Cat is not playing Baldur's Gate 3. I told you. She's crazy into Starfield and loves it. She does have criticisms of it, though. She does. She doesn't like the space combat. She really finds it annoying. And I agree with her. I don't think the space combat's very well done. And that seems to be, again, the things they're adding in. Oh, here's the new thing we added for Starfield. It's not that good. The fun parts are the parts they excel at already from previous Bethesda games. Anything new they added in is kind of frustrating, right? Would I consider play Baldur's Gate later this year? There will not be time to play Baldur's Gate later this year. September, October, November, and December will be crazy busy months. When things slow down with game releases, I would consider maybe playing Baldur's Gate 3 in the future as a chill playthrough that takes many months to get through. It's not happening this fall. It's just impossible. It's ridiculous to ask for it. Okay? Absolutely not. What build is Kat doing? She's using stealth, which I am staying way away from in my playthrough. She's using a lot of stealth, and she says it's kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes she gets missions entirely done with stealth, and other times the stealth is really hard to use, depending. So, but she is doing it. Of course I remember the Ghostbusters game. I just replayed the remastered version of it several years ago. Great game if you're a fan of Ghostbusters, for sure. No, I'm not playing Afro Samurai again. Dabhan says, how many days in a row do people ask for Baldur's Gate despite the fact you give the same answer every day? Yeah, I know. What I need to record my answer, and every time someone asks, I just press a button and it just plays the video of that answer, so I don't even have to speak. Right? Right? Willow likes the new sign. Thank you, Willow. I like it too. I think it's really awesome. Will I be a pirate and board and take over people's spaceships? Yeah, if I can figure out the way to do it. Right now, I don't think I can. I think I have to level up my abilities further, like my piloting space abilities. I think once you get those leveled up, then you can do that, and I don't think I have the ability to do it yet. Will I use my Screamer video clip next month? My Screamer video clip? My Screamer video... You know what they say? Why wait? Right? Why wait? By the way, we have a new, excuse me. Excuse me. We have a new, YouTube short up. It is of Jasper Kitty's jump scare from many years ago. It was when Jasper had first been revealed way back in 2019, and it was one of my earlier Street Fighter streams playing Super Turbo. And at that point, I had the jump scare mapped to a button, like on my keyboard somewhere. And as I was playing, he jumped up and hit the button, and he did the jump scare. He played the jump scare during Super Turbo, a match, and it scared everyone. It made everyone shit their pants. It wasn't intentional. I wouldn't do that. Hold on. Excuse me. I wouldn't do that to you guys in the middle of gameplay. Like, with a build-up on the podcast, or if we're doing something Halloween-related, maybe I would play that. I wouldn't scare the bejesus out of you just for the sake of doing it. I'm not an asshole. I'm not into pranking and stuff like that. But, you know, it was a mistake. It was an accident that Jasper had hit the button in the middle of a Street Fighter match, and it just scared the living shit out of everyone watching live. They're, oh my God, what just happened? It was pretty darn funny, okay? I gotta blow my nose, so I'm about to sneeze again. Oh. Ugh. Okay, that's better. Oh, that's much better. Hooey. Sorry about that. Okay. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The jump scare was not intentional. Will I use the jump scare in October? Yes. Will I use it in the middle of gameplay to make you poop your pants? No. I would not do that to you. Anything else, guys? Or shall we adjourn for this podcast? Longer, we're in a 90-minute podcast, but we had a good amount of topics covered today for sure. Right? Hank says, you're saying not to trust sites like IGN for reviews, but your playthrough of Starfield doesn't show the game performance mode, VRR, HDR, 120 hertz, which would help with graphics. What are you talking about? The game doesn't run at 120 hertz. It's an Xbox Series X playthrough of the game. You understand that, right? I have it on max settings on Xbox Series X, 1080p. That's it. There's nothing else. The game doesn't run at 120 hertz. It barely runs at 30 hertz. What are you talking about? What? I don't own the game on PC, and I don't have a high-end PC to run it on. This is a representation of an Xbox Series X playthrough, as it says. So what are you talking about? I don't know. Whatever. Oh yeah? Mr. Louis Casino says stealth is hard in the game. I don't know how to do a stealth attack without getting caught and unlock the upgrades from challenges. Yeah, my wife is having a hard time with it too. Like, she said she's doing it, but it's hard going. And a lot of times it's a lot of trial and error and stuff like that, okay? Okay. Well, Jex, I'm glad you're enjoying NBA 2K24. I'm not interested in it. Okay. Would I go back to Sega Full Motion video games? Of course. Some of the best ever made. Absolutely outstanding, right? Okay. All right, guys, I think it is time to end the show. I want to say thanks for chilling with me today and listening and all the topics we had to talk about. Thank you very much for that. And as always, as we're heading further into the fall gaming season, I wish you good luck navigating the landscape. There's a lot of games coming out in the next few weeks to months. It's going to be tough to figure out which ones to play, which ones to skip. Everyone's going to be in the same boat trying to figure this out. I certainly hope that you guys will join me for my playthroughs, and hopefully they'll give you a little bit of guidance on this topic. And tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit more about Armored Core, and of course about how I did with Lily in Street Fighter 6 tonight. Thank you all. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.